everybody. I'm a colleague of Azikri and all the wonderful Mindali people in here. I work in a design and creative department. And I've been invited to talk here to you about the creativity and empowerment. So I was thinking, which angle should I touch and how the creativity can empower something. And I thought I should talk about something what is rebellious and something that we don't do every day, and there are very specific people who do that, which is street art. This is a kind of art for doing which you can be even put into prison, if it's bad art. But so that's why I call my presentation Urban Canvas and Positivity Within. And where positivity comes in, I'm going to tell you right now. So why do people do the street art over there? Usually they are rebellious, and what they do, they express their dissatisfaction over there. So by doing what? Something like this. Follow Your Dreams, cancelled, right? It's a famous Banksy artist. He is from UK. And these type of street art pictures, they usually express the negativity and reminds me of how everything is bad in there. Or another thing is immature pollution, which I call the bombing or tagging, which is basically you just draw and people don't understand and they don't find the beauty unless they did it themselves, right? So what I want to talk about it today is that if we do the street art, and if you ever thought about it, why don't we do it positively? Why don't we spread the positive messages instead of these reminding us of how everything negative is or just polluting the streets? Let's do something positive. Let's find the beauty within the streets. And this is how creativity can empower us. If you go through the street and you see some beautiful art, it can make you feel better, it can make you smile. So I want to start my presentation with the quote of the famous French artist, JR. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. The quote goes like this: "Street is the largest art gallery in the world." And I think every one of us is an artist, but only artists know that. So you have a right to exhibit on the street. So spread the positive messages through the street art where you live. So this is the artist JR, he himself. I don't know, have you heard about this project Inside Out that was also organized in Malaysia, where you saw the black and white people's portraits stick on a wall? Yes. Yeah, some of you heard about it, right? So he was the guy who started that. So I want to talk about two of his projects. First one is he went to where the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine is happening, and he went to Palestine and he went to Israel, and he photographed the people who do the same jobs every day. So let's say the taxi drivers, the hairdressers in Palestine and in Israel. Then he printed them on the posters. He went to Palestine and he just started sticking them on the streets, just making the street as a gallery. And people gather around him and they ask him, "So what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just hanging a portraits of Palestinians and Israelis." And then it was silence, and some people said, "You're hanging Israelis here in Palestine?" And he's like, yeah. And these are the people, the hairdressers, the taxi drivers. And then there was a silence, and people were suspicious about him. And then he said, "Could you tell which one is Israeli and which one is Palestinian?" Could you guys tell which one is Palestinian? No. I can't either. And that's the beauty about the people. It's just 20 people in one country and 20 people in another country fuck up the lives of the millions, right? I'm talking about politicians. And then the millions of simple people, you can't recognize which them are. And it doesn't matter because they're just people. They're just the same people as everywhere else. And they can be friends, right? So another project he did was in Kenya. So he went to Kenya and he photographed the people's eyes. And instead of sticking them to the wall, which will be just a beauty, he did something more pragmatic. He printed them out on a synthetic fiber and he made the roofs, right? So now if you go on a Google Earth and you type it in JR Kenya, you might find this picture. So you will look at the Kenyans over there. You don't know who they are, but you can see them looking right away back at you. You're looking at them through the screen and they're looking back at you, right? Makes you think, so why don't we do just street art like this, Why don't we just spread such messages? So let's move on. Educate with positive. So here I want to talk about how we can educate through the street art. And of course, most of you know how the media portrays the Islamic world to the West, right? Which is usually bombarded with the negative messages when the people in the West, they think oh, everything what is written in Arabic is bad and we should be afraid of that. But I'll prove you that it shouldn't be like that and how we can change that through the street art. So I want to start with this one. You see, like, it's written advertise here. To advertise here, call number, right? Look at the poster over there to the right side. I'll zoom in right now. To advertise here, everything you need, paper, paste, and ladder, right? So it sort of calls you like, okay, let's be rebellious and do something. But instead of doing something stupid and just tagging, why don't we do something like this, what has been done in Poland, in Gdansk, by Polish street artist. So he did this. I will zoom in. And I'll zoom in again. Right? So this sends a positive message. Instead of like every day we go on BBC and if we see something in Arabic, we think like, oh, this is something scary. No, it's not scary. Look, this means love. Does anyone know how to pronounce it? How to say this? Here you go. Why not to make people smile with our street art, right? Why don't we just look beyond and do something like this? If you can't see what's written over there, I'll read for you. You don't need planning permission to build castles in the sky. It looks like a smile. We can write it in one sentence, but we can do it like this. We can do a little Mario. And it'll make you smile, right? And if it was just written something you don't understand, you'll just look at it and you don't think about anything. But you see this, and your day sparks a little bit, for even 10 seconds, but you smile. This one was done when you... This one was done by Banksy as well, the artist from UK. And this is when you enter the county of Scotland. And in Scotland, they speak English, but the English we don't understand, the English speaking. So he just did like that. It's actual sign, so he just covered it and wrote this one to look like this. And of course, then the traffic police found it and took it down. As simple as this, right? As simple as this. And it makes you smile. At least 50% of you laughed looking at this. And it's much, much better than expressing negativity through that. So be creative, fill the gaps. And by filling the gaps, I say literally fill the gaps. So when you look at the things around you, right, find how can you extend them, how you can fill them in with your creativity. With something like this, you have a giant iron wall over there that's just ugly piece and cold. So why don't you do a heart? It's very simple to do. You probably learn how to make shapes during your art classes at school from the newspapers. Everything you need to do is just to grab your old newspaper, make some shapes, and be creative and make a heart over there. And it's, again, you walk to the work, you go to school, you go to university, you look at such a thing, and the iron wall is not iron wall anymore. It's a canvas for your positive expression. A bookshelf in Germany, people sit there and wait for the trains for 20 minutes, for 10 minutes. Why don't you put just your books, the ones you don't read at home, and share the knowledge with others? Just doing such a simple things like this. This one I like. This one was done in in United States. And the idea behind this one is that, how we always like to find little things on the streets, like the coin or, something, some beautiful thing on the ground, or like little flower growing out of the wall. So what they did this, they call them little surprises. So they just took the piece of paper, folded them in triangles, and painted them in gold. And it's like a little treasure. You walk in the street and you find it. And it looks like this, It's a simple wall, but you put it in there, and it's, again, you walk and like, oh, this is so nice. And positivity flows inside you. So see beyond, see positive. What I want you to do is, like, when you look at any simple things in your life, when you're outside, inside the house, see beyond, see through there, see what's behind them, see how can you invent them again and again and again, and how you can connect them with the creativity. How many of you see octopus over here? Do you see the octopus, right? Yeah, if I remove the text, what you will see, just a clothes hanger, right? You see how we can change it, and it's a simple clothes hanger, right? So what do you see over here? A passage for the pedestrians, right? Which protects you from the falling debris of the construction yard, right? But the artist looked at it once again, and they saw, like, why don't we make a horse head over there and make a Trojan head? Why not? No one asked them to do that. No one paid them to do that. But it makes your day better when you see such a thing. And what do you enjoy more, the Trojan horse or those graffitis, which doesn't mean anything to you? Simple things as that, These signs, they still do their function. They still function the way we have to do. What artists did, they just added a little bit of their touch on them and they look much more beautiful. So every act of creation is first an act of destruction. That's what Pablo Picasso said. And what I want to say is that every act of creation is first an act of transformation. So we don't destroy, we just transform. And let's transform into the positive side. Thank you very much.